Our next guest is training the next generation of tennis talent, none other than our friend, colleague, and the director of player development for IMG, Jimmy Arias. Great to see you, Jimmy.
Great to be here. Great to see my tennis channel family once again. I'm missing us in Australia, unfortunately, but I like seeing us anyway.
Hopefully we get to see you in our brand new studios here in Santa Monica soon. I want to talk to you about Jessie Pegula, who you have worked extensively with. Got a big upset yesterday against Victoria Azarenka. What stood out to you about her performance?
Look, the one thing about Jessie Pegula that I love is that I gave her a speech a long time ago. She was someone that just hit the ball big and couldn't really defend very well, didn't use her legs, didn't have a ton of energy in the footwork. In fact, her father, the first time I ever worked out, I said, look, I want to hear your shoes squeak. And he yelled from the sideline, if you can make her shoes squeak, you'll be the first guy that ever did that. Well, I told her the whole compete like a lion and a rat story that I talk about with some players, meaning I want you to have the weapons of a lion, but the mentality of a rat. When you're in trouble in a point, find a way to survive, find a way to get out of it. And Jessie Pegula sort of has really done that over the last couple of years. And in fact, she's called me after a couple of matches that she's won and said, I was a great rat today. So she's embraced that and she's finding ways to win matches. It hasn't really happened to her so much in the big tournaments and the slams. She did make third round of the U.S. Open, but she's been a little tight in those bigger tournaments. That was a huge win for her. Hopefully she can just keep it going.
Apart from wanting to make his daughter's shoes squeak, I'm sure most of our viewers know that Jessie Pegula's parents, Terry and Tim, own the Buffalo Bills. I want to know, Jimmy, you were just down the road from the Super Bowl. Did you get to the big game?
No, the amazing thing is somehow my daughter got to the game, and I sat her two kids. And in fact, during the first quarter of the Super Bowl, I was watching Coco Melon feeding a bottle to a 10-week-old. And you probably don't know what Coco Melon is, but it's a little kid show. Okay. So I don't know how exactly that happened. And I also know that had the Bills won, I had a really good chance at getting to the Super Bowl, and my daughter would have been home with her grandkids.
Next year. Serious question, though. We've heard from some players about how they're motivated but by finances and how this is a big economic opportunity. I'm guessing that's not one of the motivations when your parents own NFL teams. But tell us about Jessie Pegula. I mean, she's been grinding it out. This was really one of the bigger wins of her career. What motivates her? Tell us a little bit more about her.
You know what? It's shocking that she is the daughter of a billionaire, to be honest, from if you got to know her. She does not have what you would expect. She has the drive. She wants to be a great player. She's working very hard. She doesn't seem to be spoiled in any way. So, my hat's off to her on that side of things as well, because that's not easy to do, to balance that, knowing that I don't need the money type of thing, but I still want to become great in something. And to me, when achieving something is what makes you feel happy in life, and it has to be something that's difficult. And she's trying to achieve something that's difficult, and she's doing it. She's on her way.
And earn it on your own, which is always more meaningful than something being given to you. Jimmy, I want to talk to you about the men's side. Dominic Thiem obviously broke through at the U.S. Open. Finally, somebody outside the big three getting a major. Are we going to see more of that here in Australia for the rest of the year? Or is it going to go back to the usual Novak, Rafa, Roger?
I mean, probably Novak, Rafa, Roger. I mean, it's hard to bet against him. Having said that, Thiem does, he hits the ball so big from pretty far behind the baseline. And now that he's won a major, I think he'll believe that he can do it again. There'll still be that niggling doubt, however, in the back of his mind that he didn't really do it beating any of those guys that we're talking about. I'm not sure. From what I've heard, you guys can correct me, the courts are pretty quick in Melbourne this year. They were quick at the U.S. Open as well, but I just don't think that favors his game for the most part.
You talk to a lot of former players about this strange month in tennis, and I know some of you try to put yourself in that position. What would I have been like? How would I have survived 14 days of hard quarantine? I want to ask you specifically about something that Jessie actually talked about after her win over Azarenka, which is energy. How does a player generate energy when there aren't, full stands, when there isn't your conventional tournament? Where does energy come from if you were playing today in that circumstance?
I mean, you know what? That's an interesting question, because a lot of it for me, I did derive my energy and I took pressure off with crowds. I know you would think the opposite. A lot of people are watching, you'll be nervous, but I actually use the crowd for both things. If I was nervous, I'd make a joke to the crowd and sort of get out of my own head slightly. So I'm a guy that would have needed the crowds. It would have felt strange. But at the same time, when you're playing a match and when you're completely involved in the match, you don't see the crowd in some ways, and it is just you against the opponent. And I think that's what these players are so good at doing now. They're not paying attention to the crowd at any time. They're just playing the match against the person in front of them. It's the one thing I love about tennis more than anything else is it's an emotional game. No one wants to admit that guy is a better man than me or better woman than me, and so it's emotional. And you've got to be able to keep your head and think while your emotions are flowing. It helps you in every part of your life for the rest of your life. So, I love tennis because of it.
Jimmy, speaking of an emotional match, a big match today, two Americans, best friends, Riley Opelka, Taylor Fritz. Riley Opelka was the best man in Taylor's wedding. How do you approach a matchup when you're taking on somebody you're such good friends with?
I mean, that's one where it's hard to answer because it depends on what type of competitor you are. I remember one time I was friendly with Brad Gilbert, and he was serving very well that day. And so on the changeover, I just said, "Hey, Brad, congratulations. You never miss a first serve anymore." That wasn't because we were friends. I was kind of trying to get into his head a little bit. Unfortunately, I forgot that Brad actually just believed me and said, "Yeah, thank you. I am serving very well." And it didn't break down. So, I mean, I don't know how Opelka and Fritz, the way they're going to walk into this. The one thing about Opelka to me is, as I've said for the last couple of years, he's a guy to me that will be top 10 in the world at some point. He's got that type of weaponry with the serve. He moves very well. His backhand is solid as could be. For a 7-footer, he moves very well. And, Fritz is the guy that's grinding away and continues to improve. So this is a difficult second-round match for both of them.
Learned so much from Jimmy Arias. I mean, Rats, Lions, Cool Melon, the kids shows. Jimmy, great to have you here on TC Live, and look forward to seeing you in our new studios here in Santa Monica. Stay safe, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me, guys.